It's not a music that you guys are listening to. Unfortunately not. Cool. Guys, thank you so much for joining this talk. I promise you that it will be fun. If it not will be fun, you guys can tell me later, okay? Just to tell you what I will present actually in this talk. But before, my name is Elias. I'm a senior software engineer at Backbase, a company here from Amsterdam. I'm from Brazil, so if you guys don't understand what I'm talking, sometimes I'm spelling some words. That's all the Brazilians, that we have some Brazilians here that can certify that. Cool. I'm one of the Java champions and Oracle Ace, which are recognitions from Oracle for Java developers, basically. And I'm one of the Java Magazine's Netherlands editor. So if you guys would like to write something for the Java Magazine, which is actually a magazine they send to your mailbox, you guys can ask me, okay, I would like to write some article. We can provide any help and support. Cool. You guys can find me in all the nerd social networks, normally Twitter, LinkedIn, GitHub, Blue Sky, and OnlyFans as well. One of those ones are paid. I know that you guys know, right? So yeah, someone is laughing. Cool. And I do a lot of bad jokes during the talks as well. So watch out. All right. I will have basically 5 minutes to talk about those 4 different tools, some modern tools. By modern tools doesn't mean that they are new. They are quite some while in the market, but they are super cool. They can really provide a kind of modernization to your applications. Cool. AssertJ, RestAssured, Awaitility, and Wiremock. By the way, I will show some slides. Don't fall asleep. It will be really fast. And then I will show code, because this normal thing to show to you guys, like, okay, it's working or not, is through code. After you see this talk, you have access to the slides. The slides will show code, will show step-by-step guides how I'm doing this during the talk. Cool? Nice? Ready? Cool. First one, AssertJ. AssertJ is an assertion library. Normally, as Java developers, we do our stuff, we do our test, but the main thing about the test is to assert that, is to see if like what I'm retrieving as an object or an information is expected based on different conditions or requirements. And these two extend these requirements of like validating it. Normally, JUnit and other tools have few methods to do this assertion, but this library has a lot. What is a lot? They have common types. They can do optionals, they can do streams, can do really complex object validations. But this is really nice and fine. And as is a fluent DSL or fluent interface on that, you guys can basically figure out super easily how I can assert. But there are some features that this tool provides that can like getting your development to the next level. So there are 2 features. I will show 2. There are 3 that I like. One is recursive comparison. Another one is soft assertions. And the last one is custom soft assertions. I will show the first 2. Cool? So I like to show this slide, like talk ship, show me the codes. And please don't judge me, because when in front of the audience, my coding skills like decrease a lot. Okay? So first thing, recursive comparison and soft assertions. So I'm here, in my code. I just need to go to main. Check out my branch. Yay! You guys can see clearly. Yes, it's cool, cool. One of the tests I have, not custom search, here. So I have, let me comment this first. You guys can see it clearly. It's fine. Cool. I have 2 objects. It's really normal to have 2 objects. Both objects are equal. The difference is that they have the same data, which is not different. Normally, if I try to compare those objects, let's say hypothetically, they should be equal, right? I just have a simulation 1 and simulation 2. If you take a look at name, CPF, email, all the fields are equal. Normally, as Java developers, what we do, and with AssertJ, assert, I told you, assert that. Simulation 1 is equal to simulation 2, right? I will run it. And what do we have? Oh, it's not equal, sorry. Equal is equal. Now, here we go. What do you have? It's not equal. But guys, I do have the same data, right? What is the catch here? It's basic Java development and base. When we do equals, it sees if the object is the same. But I have two objects, right? This simulation 1 is one object. The simulation 2 is another object. They have different references. When I do by equals, the reference actually collides because they are not the same. But it's a common thing to solve during testing because I want to see that it's equal. But I can see, okay, everything is equal. How I can solve through my tests? Super easy way. Not deleting, deleting. AssertJ provides a method called using recursive comparison. And when I have objects that seems to be equal, or I can have an object that has 5 attributes and another one with 10 attributes, but like 5 of them are equal. It's really common when we do a request and we get a response from an API, for example. The API sometimes is enriching the object with more data. And if I want to test that still, I can use this recursive comparison. I will run this, and you guys will see that everything is fine. And if I just do a super common change by the first one as Elias, you guys will see that recursive comparison failed, and it's expecting what is defer name, these attributes, actual value is Elias, but we got John. Cool, really easy, right? And with this recursive comparison, I can say, hey, ignore or focus on this, and that field. So you can have really kind of different objects that are similar, and you still can do assertions like this. Instead of doing like one assertion per attribute. That is kind of ugly and more code and more maintenance. Cool? Super easy, right? Second one, soft assertions. Please raise your hand if you know the difference about hard and soft assertions. If you know, cool. Nice. I will explain that, no problem. Not this one. Which one? Soft assertions. Custom. Let me see. Yeah, no, I will get the same example. Doesn't matter. Cool. Let's say what is the normal assertion? I would use assert that simulation 1 dot get name, Jesus Christ, is equal to not Elias, but simulation 2 dot get name, right? And in a normal assertion way, I would do the next object, CPF, and email, and so on, and so forth. Cool? What is a hard assertion? We know that it will fail on the get name, right? Because it's Elias versus John, and I will run it. Of course, just to show you that it will fail, and it failed, the same thing as recursive comparison. What is the difference now? What is the kind of a problem with hard assertions? When I have an object with a lot of fields, I want to see the assertion in all the fields. And then I can determine how I can fix that. Let's say, if I fix now, it's supposed to be John. But let's say the email, it's still Elias. And I fix it, John. I run the test again. Now I have another issue. Jesus. Then I go there and fix. Then I have another issue in other attributes. This is really time-consuming and doesn't work that well when we need to debug things and fix things. How we can solve this? There is something called soft assert. And I have this method assert softly. What is assert softly? Basically, I can do all this stuff with assertions, but I need to change to softly. Let's put Elias back. I want to have two issues, right? So I have the same assertions, but I'm adding in a method that will figure out all the issues first, and then we'll tell you, okay, it failed, and it fails in this, this, and that validation. Super simple. Run it. And we do expect the failures, and John and Elias, and the email as well. So instead of what the hard assertion does, it halts the whole execution of the test. If there's one issue, it stops. The soft assertions, it runs all, get the issues, and then outputs to you later. This is one of the best approaches to speed up everything, mainly when you're doing API testing, so in microservices, so they can really speed up. Cool? Nice? Awesome. If you guys have questions later, just tell me after this talk, tweet me, etc. I will help you out. Second one, RestAssured. Who knows RestAssured here? Nice, a lot of people. Let me ask this. Who works with Spring Boot here? Who works with Quarkus? Few ones. Cool. So in Spring Boot, we have Spring Boot test. And we do a lot of REST templates to test things, right? When we don't want, like, we want to integrate an environment with real services to interact with it. Otherwise, we can just use mock MVC, we mock that, and we use like a Spring test for that. Spring test is an awesome tool, but it requires a lot of development, right? When you need to do an integrated environment. I asked by Quarkus because Quarkus use RestAssured behind the scenes. So it's a kind of like improvement. What it does, it's a simple DSL that can create any kind of, that helps you to create any kind of test for APIs. And if you look at, it looks like the BDD style, but it's not related to BDD. It's just because it has the keywords given when then, that gives you the idea of precondition, action, and expectation, okay? But it's super easy to understand this, right? Easier than a Spring Boot test. So given, I have a parameter named Elias with the name, and with the value Elias. When I do post to register, then the stats code should be OK, 200, and the body should have a message which is success. Really simple, right? But one of the problems you guys will face when you are scaling up your tests for microservices is that you still can have a lot of tests, you will have a lot of tests, but you have a lot of duplications. Even though this kind of code, it's really easy to understand, you guys will you kind of not fail, but you guys will have more maintenance to do some common changes. Cool? How we can solve this, actually? One of the greatest things, I think you guys use it, there is a tool called OpenAPI generator. Normally, we get some YAML files, the OpenAPI spec, and we can generate clients for that APIs. It's really common. We use this in Java, in other languages, so I can generate clients in any language, actually. If I want something for mobile, it generates. If I want something for TypeScript, it generates. If I want something for Spring specifically, it generates. And if I want something specifically for RestAssured, which is a test library, it also generates it. And what I'm about to show to you is how we can actually create a better architecture and better usage when you use RestAssured for API testing, instead of using Spring Boot tests or any other tool. Cool. So, first things first. In my Pwn XML, what I'm doing, I'm using the Wagon Maven plugin to download an OpenAPI spec, which is the spec that the application I'm using here, okay? And just for formalities, it will download during the generate source, which is the third step of Maven lifecycle, so it's pretty soon it's downloaded. As soon as do this download, I'm telling OpenAPI generator Maven plugin, please generate based on that spec I just download, do some formalities here, adding some package to not put everything in the same bucket, but generate this on Java and base it on RestAssured. What we'll do, I want to generate it for you guys just to see, and then clean compile. What's happening? Oh, I cannot download, sorry, because they're not connected to the internet. Let's fix it super quickly. What is my iPhone? Yeah. Cool. Connected. Let's download it. It's downloading. You guys can see, right? Take some time because my 5G. Cool. What it does, you guys saw the download step, but it's actually generating, writing a lot of Java code based on the API spec, OpenAPI spec. Then what I have here, I have the generated source on my target, generated source, OpenAPI, API, that I have the API, OpenAPI spec, and then the project itself with all the code generated. And if I look at the API part, which will connect basically the API with all the items or all the data I have in OpenAPI spec, I can see, for example, restrictions. It's building for me all the methods and everything that I can use to speed up the development process instead of creating this from scratch like all the time. And you guys can see even that everything, the methods, the HTTP methods, the URI for that, and everything is here, already connected. So it's beautiful. What I can do with this, what I do normally, and what I would recommend, is to have one abstraction, just because I saw a lot of bad things in my career. And the bad things is, when you adopt a tool, the tool is awesome. If there's a better tool, to do that migration, if you have a lot of code developed, it's painful, right? So one of my advice here as well is to create an abstraction just to play with the API as like one thing, this connection between that tool and the code I have. And look, when I query a CPF, when I do search something, I'm using that created API, which is called restrictions. Then I can have access to the all operations and methods. And I say, hey, I want this get restriction version 1, and then I know that I have a path parameter. I will place with my that string CPF, and then execute identity will execute the chain method that everything is there. But this is super generic. It's a response. Why I have this? Because if I want to move from RestAssured to Spring Boot test or to any other tool, I just change it here. And what I will use actually for my tests, it's a service abstraction. When in the service, I have basically the same thing, but I'm using that generated abstraction from clients, and I'm returning what I should return. I know that for querying with restrictions, I should return a message version 1 object. And look how beautiful it is. It can do all the mappers for you automatically. You don't need to use model mappers and anything like this, Jackson, whatever. It does for you automatically. And then when I have the test, look the difference in the test. Instead of given when then, it's normal methods that I can understand even better, right? So basically, restriction service, query a CPF with restriction. This is the CPF. I know that it has a restriction. It will return this message version 1 object already loaded with all the data, and then I can do any assertion I want. Easier than writing given, I have this CPF parameter when I do the get for this endpoint, etc. Cool? Nice. Continue on that. Here. Cool. Awaitility. Awaitility is a tool to support you for not asynchronous stuff. And really common in API development as well, right? Normally, all the APIs we develop are synchronous. So we can just do a get and get the request instantly, and it's have the expectation. But sometimes we have asynchronous systems. Redis, RabbitMQ, any kind of system that, okay, they also provide APIs. They sometimes emit some events. And through my API development, I want to wait for that event to do something. And of course, if my application waits for some events to do something, I need to test that as well. But how I can test that if I want to wait for something? Normally, a really bad practice, we put the application to sleep, right? Thread.sleep. And we sleep for 10 seconds. But 10 seconds for API development is an eternity. So I need to find a way to have a smarter approach to wait for that. And Awaitility actually has it. How it has it? Let's show through the code directly. So I have a different branch for the same application. Smart checkout. Roll back. Yeah. Go away. Cool. So what I have here, like you guys saw that I was talking about the API restrictions, right? This application is kind of a low and take simulation where I submit my low application and I have like third-party library, third-party like dependency that will check if that possible customer that is taking the loan has any restriction. And then it says yes or no, and then I can like send this loan simulation, okay? But now in this application, I have only the loan simulation, and the restrictions is a totally third-party library. It's XYZ. And I have a test for that. And on my test, normal thing. And I know that it should fail because I don't have this dependency yet. Yeah, no. Yeah. Yeah. I will just run it. And it will fail eventually. Why? It will fail with a super weird HTTP 500 because I don't have this third party. Actually, not because I have a third party, sorry. Because it will take some time to have this feedback from the application. If I run it locally, Spring Boot, where is here? I have my Swagger here, and I can simulate, right? I can do the basic request and response here. I can do the basic request and see the response. And I have this awesome H2 console because I'm running into an H2 database password. What is the thing here? I have the tables with like restriction simulation. I have kind of event source where every time I do a loan simulation, I will store that, okay, someone tries to take a loan. And it's kind of audit thing, right? It's super common for any bank system or any kind of system like this. If I create a simulation, cool, success, but look, I don't have anything in my event store, my events, my audit, and after a while I have the data there. Cool? And any test that I can do it will fail because I don't have this data. How I can fix it? Where is my ID again? Here, let me just stop. And you guys see that it failed, right? Because it takes some time. I can simply say, hey, I need one thing first from this library, saying, you guys can use an approach to wait for something. I'm using my repository, querying that data that I want to wait for, and say, hey, my event repository, find that data if it's present. Simple method, right? And then with this awaitility, I'm saying, hey, I'll wait at most 10 seconds, which a lot, but I know, until the event is found. Which event? The ability to see that data in the table. So when I run this one, you guys will see that the test will take a while. It's not failing. It's waiting for the data till 10 seconds. And 5 seconds later, it finds, actually 7 seconds later, it's there. My test is done. So I can even wait for things that are synchronous. Cool? All good? Nice. The last one, and sorry if I'm being super quick on this one, because 30 minutes for those 4 tools is like kind of thing. Wiremock. Wiremock, super cool. I know that all the Java developers use a lot of different tools for mocking, mock MVC, Mockito, or even Wiremock. And then one of the common thing for this is to write as a code, right? So if I need to mock something, mock some dependencies, I just write a simple Java code that, okay, I stub or mock. When I do this request on that endpoint, it should return that specific thing for me. Cool, nice. But what if you guys have a different teams and you depend on the same mock? You have like 5 teams writing the same code. It's not that good, right? You need to concentrate somehow. And that's why one approach in the market helps a lot. It's called service virtualization. So I can have the ability to get the Java code, or with Wiremock, simple JSON files. I can create all the request response that I'm expecting, and I can put it on a container. And if I can put it in a container, I can put this everywhere. I can use this on my local tests, just open up Docker, starting up Docker, and point to that container. I can deploy it in the Kubernetes cluster. How it works, more or less. So, Wiremock. What I do have here, instead of Java code, this is a lovely thing from Wiremock. I can just mapping the request. For example, restrictions. What I have here is that every time I have a request, which is a get, for this URL, and this URL has a path parameter, I will respond. My response will be status code 200, and I will respond some JSON, and this JSON is super simple as response. It will show a message CPF that has a restriction. Cool? What Wiremock will do, you guys notice that I don't have the initial base path, right? Because it doesn't matter. It will run in the same machine I'm running or the same Kubernetes cluster I'm running. I'm just interested in the full path of the application. What I can do, if I deploy it, if I just run as a Docker container, I will have this open running. Let me stop this actually first and get the same application. CD credit simulation. Cool. MVN Spring Boot. This one is a different port. Cool. I have the same Swagger. If I run this without running my Docker container with that request and response like that mock, I will try out. It will fail. 500. Because I don't have access to that endpoint, that mock. And I don't have this endpoint developed on my API. Cool? When I run it, cool, I will run the Docker container. It's started. Now I have exactly the same, let me just do a refresh here. Exact the same data. This matches the data I have mapped on my file. Here. Cool? And even the path. Now when I run, try it out, execute, I have a 500. Why? I don't know. Refresh. Because the data is different. Maybe. Yeah. We get one more time. One more time. Yeah, the data is different. Run. I have exactly the same response, not exact that one, but I have a response here. So you know that who is taking over? My Wiremock simulating exactly that endpoint. Easy? Cool. So, I know that's super fast. I have a few time to show this, but thank you guys so much. This QR code goes to the talk with all the examples, with the slide deck. If you guys have any questions, want to understand a little bit more about anything that I talked here, guys can just approach me here at any time, okay? Thank you so much again.